You are listening to the Rainmakers Power Hour. Join your hosts, Wendy Butler, Leanne Wynn, and Macy Nelson, as they interview the most successful entrepreneurs from around the world who are sharing their proven strategies to help take your business to the next level.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We have an amazing show today. We are here at the Rainmakers Power Hour live on Chatter every week on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And also we're going to stream on YouTube. Was it Twitter, right? Twitter, and then also replay on YouTube. We have a special guest today. And every week we have, we're going to dive into the minds of the top entrepreneurs. And we're going to bring in all the amazing interviews with industry trailblazers, uncovering their secrets to success in order to empower them to take their business to the next level. And it's all these crazy stories that you're going to hear on Rainmaker Power Hour. And today we have a special guest, Andrew Cartwright. I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to my co-host, Wendy Butler, and also Macy Nelson will be chiming in with the questions later on. Go ahead, Wendy.
Yes, thank you, Credit. And I do want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, Smarter Aircraft, the next generation in private aviation investments, and also William and Harry, elevate your game with luxury brand exotic golf shoes. Thank you, guys. So Andrew Cartwright, welcome to the podcast today. I told him we were going to have to extend the show by 30 minutes because his accomplishments were so many, but I'm going to give it a try here. Self-made entrepreneur who has built 32 companies across many industries, including real estate development, finance, automotive, media, and technology. Andrew became a millionaire at age 17. Huge accomplishment right there. He rebounded from losing $12.8 million in the 2008 crash, now manages a $100 million fund, Dragons and Angels. Of course, widely recognized for his YouTube channel that has over 798,000 subscribers and 1 million followers on Instagram. Co-starred in the famous A&E show Flipping Las Vegas, which I absolutely loved. Sued and beat Tulare County over a $27.5 million bid on the motorsports park, which I can't wait to hear about that. Creator of the Epic 99 program that helps everyday people buy businesses and even invest 10% for some qualified partners. Author of the book, The Origin of Opportunity, and host of the podcast, Reluctant Billionaire. So many things to talk about, Andrew. Welcome to the show.
I wanted to, there was one, I lost over $100 million on 100 and some odd projects going and went $12.8 million in debt. That was the damage from 2008. And then spent 4 years just basically talking to all the banks and getting them all their money, paid them all back, and was debt-free April 12th, 2012. It was at Layers over here. I was having a coffee, paid my last 50 grand. And then I exploded over 100 million again. So, it's, that was a very interesting time. It was a pivotal time in my life. I've had 3 of those. That was a huge one. Yeah. That time I was lucky enough to have 14 companies running at the same time. So even though my construction company, the development company, the real estate brokerage, and my projects, the 100 and so, restaurants, nightclubs, remodels, custom homes. I had several custom homes, subdivisions that were like 95% built. My bank failed and they didn't lend me the rest of the money to finish the project, even though I sold everything. It's funny. You can do everything right and still lose.
Yeah.
So just for anybody who wants to know, do everything right, and there's no guarantee that you won't end up with just, pounding sand. So, yeah.
That's scary, and I want to hear about all these different ventures for sure. But I want to ask you, first of all, that you became a millionaire at age 17. What did you do at age 17 to make $1 million?
I started with my dad cut me off at 12 years old, said that I needed to make my own money. I started selling to friends and then started selling to Longs and Payless and Macy's. By 15 years old, I met a mentor Joseph Kaufman. And I gave him like all the money I had at the time to learn everything I could from the guy. I had my first patent in at 16 years old. I got exclusive rights to 3 different brands. One of them had 12 different types of products. And I got exclusive rights for Northern and Central California. And basically had a fundraising line and over 200 employees, with my youngest manager being 37 years old. And they couldn't go around me because I had exclusive rights. I learned that from my mentor, how to get trademarks, how to copyright, how to patent, how to get exclusive rights, how to lock up and build mults and read through contracts and build companies. So by then I bought the cars I wanted and did what I want. All I did basically 3 days a week was count money, because you had to go through me. So, I worked Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 o'clock till about 11 to noon. And I hated counting money. That's all I did was just count money. It was brutal. It was hard,
Yeah. I mean, a millionaire at 17. And as we always say, there are no shortcuts in business except for having a mentor. So you were lucky to have a mentor. But,
yeah, and I didn't know anything, which was awesome. I just devoured it. It wasn't like I already had a bunch of experience and I knew nothing. So I was like a sponge. I just sucked everything up. And that was my third business that really was the one that I remember signing that contract. I flew down to Oceanside, California, met with a guy named Steve Owenby, and he goes, "How old are you?" I said, "Well, I'll be 17." And he goes, "Well, if I sign this contract with you, it's not even legal. Like, you can hold me to it, but I can't hold you to it." So I told him, I said, "Give me a number that you don't think a 17-year-old could do." And he signed it. He gave me such a low number. It was embarrassing. I could sell that in a couple of days. And, I had that business for 9 years. I lived that life and then had a good exit. And then I retired at 26, and I acted for 3 years on Nash Bridges. I played Officer Grant. I was in What Dreams May Come, Bicentennial Man, Patch Adams. I was did theater with Fences. I played Lions in Fences in ACT in San Francisco. And yeah, so did that. I always dreamed about acting. So I thought, oh, this would be, what else am I going to do? I don't need money. So, and then I burned through everything because I had no investments. So I burned through like a full retirement at 26 to 30 years old. So, and I never stopped spending. It was hard to get through a weekend without spending 20 grand. So,
Wow. I mean, your story just sounds amazing. So you're obviously very good. You've started 32 businesses now? Is that right?
It's over that. I just stopped saying because, now it's like, to me, to start a company, it's like, for example, in the last, probably the last year, we started DARTS, which is dynamic, active real-time scoring, to help include the 75 million people that are credit invisible and don't have the access to credit because they're just invisible. We started that company, Transaction Room, to help people buy businesses. It also writes business plans, uses AI, does non-disclosure agreements, contracts, LOIs, all the back end. We have a deal room that we built that you can put all your stuff in the back to be able to buy businesses and real estate. And we pull all the businesses together in Transaction Room. Capital Velocity, the lending company. So yeah, that's just what we've, created. And to keep everything together, I started a community, Origin of Opportunity, so that things didn't get lost. Because my goal is to buy 1,000 businesses with my audience and to help 1 million people become financially free. So that's where, if you go into a coma and you come out like 6 months, you're worth more in 6 months than you were when you went in the coma, provided you have insurance and healthcare that covers it.
Yeah, the mailbox money. And I love that you like to bring people on that journey with you and pay it forward. It sounds like that's what you're into. And a lot of people want to be an entrepreneur, but you have something that not a lot of people have, in my opinion, and that's the gift to identify a successful business model.
Mhm.
So how do you do that?
I think, ever since obviously 12, I drive by, like I drive down the street. Some people look at a few things. I look at every single business everywhere I go and kind of analyze. There's only two things you can do in business. This is what I learned at 15 years old that blew my mind. And it's going to sound so trivial to you. You're going to go, well, yeah. But to me, it was monumental. It cleared up so much for me. There's only two things you can do in business. That's deliver a product or a service or a combination of the two. There's nothing else. Like that's it. So when I narrowed it down to that, it's easy for me to analyze the business model, figure out what the margins are, what the cost of acquisition, like how much does it cost to get, a customer. Like this platform, for example, as easy as it is to use this platform, when you get adoption, that adoption becomes really inexpensive. I have another company that I just invested millions into, which is Magic Door. And Magic Door is free to onboard real estate, and it uses AI. It's like everything I ever dreamed about in a real estate management software that didn't exist, because we have all these horrible things that I manage real estate with that are just encumbersome and they're not intuitive. There's no AI. There's not, I don't want to worry about rents. I just want to get notified, if somebody hasn't paid or somebody's not managing one of my properties, and as far as maintenance, I just want it on auto, like send over to what exactly you need so we can get the right vendor to go fix it. And all that was in this company. And it's been unbelievable. They've brought on, I think, 8,000 users in the last couple of months. It just really launched a few months ago. So it's been, this stuff's just fun. Like I get to go play every day. It's like crazy.
It sounds like a dream. Credit. I know you are in the same boat. You love business models, and you are an entrepreneur, as we all are. What do you think? I mean, do you think he's just super talented? I mean, I think you've got a gift, and I think it's amazing that you're allowing other people to capitalize on your gift.
Yeah, I think I would just, had a group call and was talking about the different, drawbacks, because I look at so many businesses, they brought up a med spa. Looks very attractive. Most med spas, like even in Texas, you need to have a doctor that's part of the med spa. We do have a huge anti-aging longevity movement that's pushing, but there's also, like, for example, in the territory that I was looking at with him was like, I think that you look at rooftops, like I'm heavy into analyzing whether something will work or not. And in that area, they made like $130,000. And then I looked at like, what's their overhead to live there? And do they have disposable income? And if they do, how much do they have? And then what is the age of that demographic? And all this stuff is available now. You can cheat. You can figure out drive time. You can figure out how, like if a car drives by 55 miles an hour and like here in Vegas in front of your store, the odds of somebody seeing and making a decision to turn into your store are a lot less than if you're in a parking lot that has a major store sitting there and they're driving by at 5 miles an hour, right? So, and then even like, for example, a hack that one of my mentors taught me too. I used to fly around with him in jets buying, he owned a bunch of clothing stores called Off the Rack, and he sold them. And I remember flying in the thing, and he would open up his store right next to Dress Barn. He was better at decorating his windows. He was better trained, and his prices were better than Dress Barn. And I asked him, I said, why is your business model opening up next to Dress Barn? And he goes, because Dress Barn pays a lot of money in advertising. And then they walk by, they see my amazing window. They paid all the advertising and costs to get people there. All I have to do is be sexy enough to where when they walk by, I've got a more captivating window. And then once they go in the store, they're going to buy stuff. And he built a whole business off of actually the draft, like in racing, right? Like when you race, when you get behind another car, you don't have you can have your gas pedal like half down, It takes you less because the front car is basically blocking all the air. They're basically like clearing the air for you, so it doesn't take as much to drive behind somebody. It's like drafting somebody.
We call
right?
those cheater brands, but they are extremely profitable for
Oh,
a lot less overhead. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's that's one model, and he had a lot of margin. He bought direct from the factories. So yeah, it's just fun to watch all the different models that come up, and they come and go. Businesses come and go, markets come and go. Every market's in a season, right? Summer, winter, spring, fall, right? So you get a market that's all hot and nobody's in it, and it's a blue ocean. You make tons of money. There's lots of margin, and then before long, you've got 20 competitors in that space, and the margins shrink up from competition. So then that's the time to sell, move on, because it's bloody at that point.
So this Dragons and Angels, what kind of businesses do you like to fund in there? Because you do 10% of your own money with certain partners, is that right? Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, most people don't have the down to be able to go and get a loan. So basically people were short 10%. So I put up the equity and then borrow from the banks 90%. So that if you knew how to operate a business and you knew you have a credit score of 680, and you can actually run that business, and we could find a business that we want to own, then that's irresistible. I put up my money, and I go into partnership with them. So it's fun. I don't want to do anything anymore other than this. I don't need to work. All I want to see now is other people succeed. That's what drives me. It's like, it's not a rich guy is really not interesting to me. A rich guy that wants to make you rich, that's interesting to me. If I was like on the other side coming up completely broke, I'd be like, that's the guy I want to be around, because he doesn't need money. And he's not hiding anything. I hid everything that I know all up until about 5-6 years ago, because I didn't want people to know all the secret information that I really learned about how to do business. Like I don't want to teach my competition, right? Like why would you do that? So, and now it's like it doesn't matter. So, the time's ticking. I'm old, so
You're in your legacy years, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are appreciating that you're giving back like that. Where's this community that you were talking about?
It's originofopportunity.com. It's the same as my book, Origin of Opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where to go to get the book? How do we get the book?
Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Goodreads, like everywhere. You can only get the hard copies from me. So I personally sign every hard copy and send it to people, and that's kind of my thing, because to me the book is not a self-help book. It's not at all. It's more like a self-destruction book, right? It's the opposite of self-help. So I tell people before they even buy it, like if I go and speak at an event. I was just in Atlanta, sold a crap load of books. I'm like, listen, if you want a self-help book, don't read my book, right? This is not some formula. This is a self-discovery journey, which is what the book's about. It uncovers like who most people think they are is a grain of sand on the beach of who they really are. That's the thing. You look at me, 32 companies, 17 industries. I've bought 17 companies, exited 5 times. We're a beach. We're so much bigger than we even think. And the book takes you through that process of uncovering the BS, what you think you are, the identity, the stories you tell people. And the idea is to free people mentally, financially, and emotionally, so they can really become who they are, who they're meant to be, which is huge. Like what people can do is unbelievable. What they actually do is pretty disappointing. I'm like, God, you're so much better than that. Like,
I love this credit. We have to get this book. Credit. This is us. This is us. How do we get the book from you? How do we get Credit and I are over here and we're like, we have to have this book. Can we post the link, Wendy? Because I am not the most savvy. How do we get this book?
You can go to the website, andrewcartwright.com. You can buy it there or Amazon. Or I want you guys to have the hard copy because to me, the hard copy is like, I don't know. It's like,
Old.
It's just, it's like, I don't know. I just love I love books. I have a whole huge library. I love to read. I study ferociously every single day. I always approach the day like as an empty vessel. Like what can I learn and grow today on, So
well, the good part is I live in Vegas. I could just drive up to Henderson, pick up a coffee. We can have a drink together, and hopefully we'll send you one of our cups. This is the Power Hour, Rainmakers Power Hour cup. We will.
I love it.
We're going to get that to you for all of our hosts, right, Wendy? We'll get that out.
That's right. We're going to trade you a book for a coffee cup for sure.
I love it. That's the first thing I thought of. That's the first. I'll put it over here.
I got to jump in on this. I met Andrew when we did our podcast on the jet, and it was in the hangar. And I remember my first impression of you was, hey, I have a video guy coming. I go, what's it for? He goes, and then you're like, I got a YouTube channel that I have on. And I'm out there opening the door because you were in the middle of talking to Mr. Keller. And so I was running out there to open the door, and then he came in later. And so my question to you is, you have a YouTube channel. Why did you start the YouTube channel? And is it because of your journey, your story? Because I think when you go through so much bad stuff, good stuff, you're living and you're actually sharing these stories on these YouTube channels. How important is content for you? And what are you using your YouTube channel for? And how important is it to have your own video guide to do these? Which is important because you go to these events all the time and someone goes, hey, don't worry, I have my camera guy. But the thing is, they're focused on that person. You always have to have your own camera person, which I always have with me if I'm at an event or I'm going to be a keynote speaker. How important is that content?
Well, I mentioned, first of all, if you don't capture it, it doesn't exist past the moment. And that you never know what moment is like magical. And why wouldn't you document your life? You're so special, so special. The actual documenting of what you're actually doing in life, is just amazing. Now, I started YouTube because I just saw like so many people would ask me questions, and I thought, well, this is a great way, one, to just put it. All my old videos are there all the way back to 2008. I didn't really go all in YouTube until 2018. Where I was like, I'm just going to invest the time, teach people how to sell, how to fix their credit, how to get loans. The biggest thing is I became an underwriter in 2012 for the SBA. I've done thousands and thousands of business loans, right? 7A and 504s. And my thing is bankers would just, I can go to any banker, and I don't want to mention any names like Chase or Wells Fargo, and you go in, I would never mention banks like that, U.S. Bank. But you go in there and they have these tight boxes that you won't get approved. But literally the SOP, their standard operating, you're approved. I'm like, how do you? And a bank, they have to lie to you. They have to tell you, oh, yeah, we'll lend you money. But the reality is, if you don't understand how the bank operates and their policy, you can't get a loan. I can reverse engineer a bank balance sheet and tell you if they can even lend you money. Because if you look at a balance sheet on FDIC.gov, the cash deposits, which is what they use to leverage to make loans, right, is literally, it's on the side. It's a liability. When you put money in a bank, they owe that money back to you. It's a liability. But when you look on the other side, on their asset side, their booked assets are what they use to leverage what they have in the bank, right? When you have a CD, that's an even better quality of money because it's there for a while for the bank. So they're able to leverage that stuff. So I would reverse engineer bank balance sheets back in 2008. This is how I had to learn this out of necessity. because I would go into banks and they said they could lend to me, and then I would find out after I reverse engineered, they couldn't lend me the money. In fact, they were bankrupt. They were bankrupt. And they were pretending like they were going to lend me money, but they were bankrupt. There's a lot of banks in the United States right now that are literally bankrupt. If you look at their balance sheet, you look at their treasuries, you look at market value of those treasuries, they are bankrupt. But
So
nobody's.
Andrew, I have a question for you. So
Sure.
this is Wendy's
Red Butler.
husband.
Yes.
So do you have, because you're a good-looking guy and your girlfriend, wife's a good-looking person, you find that you get special treatment because you're a little bit better looking than other people?
Oh, absolutely. I put on my best hairstyle. Yes. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, great hair, Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, I color here. My wife makes sure that all the gray disappears, and then she's got the surfer thing, and then she wants the Brad Pitt thing going on, and you know, I definitely think that you definitely want to look as attractive as you can. You know, my wife's a bombshell, but she's also like brilliant. She has a PhD in data science and artificial intelligence, and she's got a MBA in financial strategy, which was our love language when we got together. We talked about bonds and finance and lending and structuring deals and all that, and it was just fun, right? Here we are eating. You're sexy as and you talk finance. Oh my God! And then what do you call it? She has a CFA too. That's a certified financial analyst on Wall Street. So we'd analyze companies together. Her flex when we first one of our first dates was she pressed a button and got $500 million that rolled through the door. And I'm like, and it took like 15 minutes or something like that for $500 million to come in. And then she just got up from her desk and we walked out.
But it's scary, right? Because both Credit, Macy, and Wendy are probably smarter than you and I. And they have all these businesses along with your wife or girlfriend. I was like, it's crazy because people don't understand if you're super intelligent and good looking, you can get a lot more money in the world than you can as like an average person. And you have to explain that to people because it's real. I mean, it's totally real.
Yeah. So part of in the documenting process, when you're underwriting a deal, you look at the background history of somebody and the viability that the loan is going to go bad based on the experience of the borrower. That's why, you know, if you don't have the thing is to get a running mate that actually has what you don't have until you can get the experience to be able to do it. Because at the end of the day, when you get enough experience, then, you know, you got the gold card to walk in and kind of do stuff. But you're absolutely right. Packaging is everything. Most people walk into a bank and I cringe at what they say because they talk themselves out of a loan. They literally talk the banker out of a loan. I'm like, why did you come to get a loan if you're going to talk them out of it? Right? Understand, like with ChatGPT and I wrote GPTs for SBA for grants because I have a company called Grant Velocity. It has 1,636 grants in there. I don't make any money with it, but it helps people find grants. And it has a grant writing tool that's AI to help. I just hate that billionaires get all the free money. And yet, if you fill out an application, you have a mission and something you would love to do, there are grant programs, trillions of dollars out there that is ready, that is like there to get help, you know? So
That's amazing. Can we put that link up too? That would be phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
a good one.
Well,
Grant
Andrew,
Velocity.
real quick question. I know you want to look good on paper, you want to present well. How important is relationships at the banks and all these private investors for people to get their deals through? Because I think that plays a big role too, is the relationships that we have, because I do a lot of funding on a different level than you do, but that plays a big role in getting these things approved and funded. What is your thought?
100%. The thing is, though, what you want to do is talk to that banker and see if they can, like, if I talk to a banker, and I have a couple hundred that I deal with, if they can't, if the actual banker that's trying to push it across the finish line can't completely explain to an underwriter, like I look for a banker that understands the underwriting process. If you don't know how the soup's made, then how do you argue? Like, I have underwriters that'll call me when I'm working on deals. They're not supposed to talk to me. And they'll go, okay, how does this work? And I explain it to them. This is what it's based on. This is how I build the value in. This is, the exit strategy. This is the backup strategy. You're covered in these two areas. This is, and the worst case scenario, this is where it'll be in worst case scenario. And I just like lay it out and build the foundation. So when they do their write-up, which a write-up could be 100 pages long, my write-ups, because of all this stuff, I'm like, bankers spend a lot of time, like to do my write-ups, probably 300 or 400 pages, because they have to go through all your companies. They have to globally underwrite you, all this kind of stuff, right? We don't do that at Capital Velocity. If the asset makes sense, we lend the money. So no tax returns. We don't even hard pull people's credit. We soft pull it. We don't even need bank statements. It's like, does the property make money? If it does, we'll lend you the money. And the credit market, the private credit market is like unbelievable. We package and put on Wall Street about 350 million a month, and people, they're buying it like crazy, more than the bank side of it. We're actually starting to beat banks now because it's just easier capital to get. It's much.
So Andrew,
Yes.
I have a question. So if you have some startup company that looks promising versus somebody has some sort of background and or, what are you looking for as far as loan to value, or for how do you loan money? If you say you're doing $350 million a month, what are you looking for?
So that in that space, the majority of that is all real estate. So we do subdivisions, so it's not a lot of money when you think about it. We do subdivision lending where ground up construction. We do fix and flip, and we do rental portfolio loans. One portfolio, we have one lady, she's got 160 properties, and she's literally from Africa and only started buying properties about 3 years ago. And she's accumulated we're really easy for newbies to come on board and buy a piece of property. But if you can buy something that's 30% less than the ARV, the after repair value, and you at least can suck out about 22.4% profit, then that's a deal you can do all day long. And you can also leave the money in there, cash out, keep some money, and just keep it as a rental. We'll turn that into a rental loan too. So that could be your exit strategy as well. But a lot of that's real estate. And then on the business side, it's not as much as real estate. Real estate's much easier. It's so much faster. It's just real business is like, everything is like, you have to make it special for that loan. Where real estate is just like, you look at a market, you look at the averages, you look at what the ARV is, you look at their scope of work, like what are you going to do? What is the cost of repairs? Is that real? Plumbers don't work for $5. That's not going to work. Plumbers like $30, 35, whatever, $40, whatever they can get. So, unless you're the plumber, but you look at a good scope of work and the math, I put all the math. I did videos on the website too, because my biggest thing is just educating people to take the uncertainty out of it, because all this stuff is just math, and it's basic math. If the math works, you can buy yourself the financial freedom by buying good assets that feed you and don't eat you, that you control. Don't ever let somebody else control your destiny. That to me is just handing somebody a bunch of money and hoping for the best is a bad idea.
So do you ever loan on less than 50% loan to value with these upstarts? I mean, because that seems to be the number these days. Is that 50%? Or I'm just talking about real estate numbers. I don't know about the business numbers, because you're taking a shot all the time. That's a whole different leverage game. So I'm just curious. Obviously, you've been through multiple loans for these people. I get the real estate thing. Do you ever loan more than 50% unless it's super good, and what's the business loan to value?
So to kind of clean that up a little bit, we lend up to 90% loan to value, right? I'm talking about your exit value at the after repair value after you fixed up a fix and flip. But we'll lend that, and our debt coverage scenario is it's 1.05. So as long as you cover, so just so people don't get confused with that, you know, and if you do multiple, like you've got lots of properties going, we'll get up to the point where we'll lend you the 100% of the money. After you've got, you know, you get a track record, you get going, we don't want you to slow down. In fact, when you have, like, say you put in flooring, you take a picture of the flooring, we wire you the money the next day. So, and we used to have a construction, you know, inspection department, they come out and how much percentage and all this kind of stuff. And we just, you know, people are guaranteeing the loans. I mean, take a picture of it and please don't commit fraud. Otherwise, we're not going to lend you any more money. You know?
So what is the APR on let's say I'm a startup business and I need $500,000. What's my cost on $500,000 per month? What's the interest rate?
A startup is, I mean, it would depend on the startup, whether it was franchise. Startups are that's the hardest. That's why I push people to buy a business, something that already exists, because it adds cash flow. And with that, you can get 90% loan to value on the cash flow. And if you can talk the owner into actually carrying some of the money, you can get into a deal with almost no money down. In fact, people who are in the same industry, a lot of times I can get them a deal done without putting any money in. Startup, like every time I hear startup, I mean,
You're in the matrix, Grant.
No, he is the genius because he's with 90% of the people. He's because
Can y'all hear me?
all right, so my mic went off, but it's back on. But
I'm not sure what happened there. But
yeah.
I think he's in the matrix. But I did want to.
So to answer that, as far as, yes, it is more of a 50% loan to value. A lot of times you can do asset lending, like on a business that has assets, and you're looking at about 12.5% is the rate for that, because it's pretty high risk. It goes off of a benchmark of prime, which is like whatever, prime rate 7.85. I'm just throwing a rough number. It changes every day. It changes all the time, right? And then there's a spread of about 5% on the business side. And now on the other side, the real estate side, it's more in the sixes. You know, it's low. It's not that. But we were talking about the highest risk startup, you know, $350,000 type loan. You know, which part of the reason they even do those loans, because half the businesses that start fail in the first year is they just want to make sure that the economy keeps going. And we live in the best country in the world for upward mobility. I was in Washington at the vote at the House for the American Entrepreneur SBA bill they just passed days ago. I was there for that vote, and just about all the nuances that they're changing in the SBA. And then I talked to the finance committee there at the House, and then also the Senate banking committee as well. One of the guys from Oklahoma, and then another guy, Scott. Just, you know, we got the Genius Act that's coming down with crypto, which is, if they get that right, a lot can change. I mean, we go digital on the dollar. We got an on and off ramp to Bitcoin and to all the digital assets. And I think that could just really, we won't need Coinbase anymore, basically, which is crazy that, yeah, it's super exciting.
It's exciting times with all the crypto and things happening, tokenization in the future and all those things.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you one question to Andrew. So you've flipped properties, you built subdivisions, you've run nightclubs. What has been the most unexpected profitable venture that you've had? One that, you know, of all these businesses that you've done, which one was the one that you were surprised that became successful?
I think developing. I just because I love to create, and that really surprised me because to me, like the idea of actually building subdivisions, putting in streets and neighborhoods, and tearing down neighborhoods to rebuild them. That I never thought I'd be doing that. So I just like God has some invisible hand, and when I'm paying attention and just listen and just get out of my own way, amazing things happened. I never thought that I'd be, that I drive by. I drive by neighborhoods that I built, and there's nothing. When I run the neighborhood here in Dragon Ridge, I run by Nancy Walden. She's worth $12 billion, and the guy from Wish, he's a neighbor, 4.2 billion or 4.1 billion, and then also Andrew of Panda Express, he's worth 3.5 billion, I believe now, and then of course Steve Aoki is another person that's right here. I run the neighborhood. I run by 6-7 houses that I built, from 12,000 to 16,000 square feet, and then I drive by neighborhoods I built, and it's just God put dirt there, and then I created something. It was like I co-created something, and I don't know. Then they'll be here probably 100 years if and I did that. It was my idea to map it out. I don't know. Just seems that's probably my most unexpected but favorite part about it.
I agree. I mean, I do that also on a much smaller scale, apparently, than you are doing, Andrew. But it is rewarding when you years later are going through the neighborhood and you're like, "Hey, I made that happen." That's pretty cool. And I loved your flipping Vegas. That was so fun. I mean, did you love that? I mean, you're hilarious in there. I mean, it was awesome. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a blast. Buddy of mine, Scott Yancey, needed a house for the show. I was finishing some of the houses that I was doing, and he called me up and said, "Hey, I need a house to show in the episode." And he goes, "I'd love you to co-star in it." And I'm like, "Yeah, that could be cool." And then I wrote another show called The Prophet and registered that with the Writers Guild of America, only to find out later that the show was done. Somebody ripped it, but that happens all the time in Hollywood. So if you don't have a strong name, you can't really get your way unless you have a strong name in Hollywood. So, but I get to feel good about the fact that I wrote it, registered it, and created basically the core concept of it. So, kind of fun.
I think you have an amazing story. You obviously have a lot of talent and a lot of experience. But one of the things, I was looking at when I'm looking at capital velocity that I think is really neat that you do is there's a lot of people that would love to have passive income. They just don't have your talents, your experience, or your drive. But you've been able to kind of link that with dragons and angels, and they can go onto your website and fund, right? They can start an entrepreneur and have you do all the work. That's phenomenal. How did you come up with that? I mean, I think you were doing it before crowdfunding, but it's other people who want to be an entrepreneur, but maybe just doesn't have the time or the talent. They can go on your site. They can say, this is what I have in my budget. And then how does that process work after they've made that decision with you?
Well, I mean, we're the fund. We call it Dragons and Angels because my wife, she works with Google. She has 450 employees. She does all the artificial intelligence and works with all the countries and so forth. We're we go to Startup Grind. We invest in a lot of startups and companies, and we have our own evaluation calculator that we put on the website when we're looking at deals. We'll look at 70 companies and fund a couple, just like Magic Door that we just recently did. But basically, everyone's chasing a unicorn, right? But what they don't tell you about unicorns is you could have invested in Uber and still not made all your money back. So unicorns are tricky because you can have $1 billion company and actually not actually be ahead. Now, a dragon, which you don't hear people talk about, is that you get that in the tech world is you got all your money back and you made a substantial profit. So that's where we got the dragon from, as far as and we live in Dragon Ridge, so it was kind of like, this is cool. And then angels. I mean, we look at it more like angel investing because most people they don't understand how deals work. Like for example, we saw a ton of people that said they had companies. They were just AI wrappers that really didn't have a company that you could do the same wrapper, and there was no real entrenched or intrinsic uniqueness that would really take off. And for a long time, we see lots of companies where people slap stuff together and they don't really have anything. We're like, God, because we want to do deals. We're very we want people to buy businesses. We want people to get money. We want people to get ahead. I always often say that I want people to be successful more than they do. That's probably my biggest frustration is I'm passionate about, I want to get you across the finish line and you barely do. You're kind of like, maybe we'll see, like da da da. This is your life. Like, this is how you treat your life. We'll see. Maybe, kinda, really? Oh, I get frustrated because the secrets are they're not secrets anymore. They're everywhere. Knowledge is pervasive. It's everywhere, and it's free. And it's just a matter of taking action. I think that's where I get frustrated because when I see people win and they hug me and they're crying and falling apart because their quality of life has changed, that's how I make my money today, is by seeing lives change. That's what oh man, I did, somebody's at dinner and they come over and they hug me and they're like, oh my God, you saved us. I'm like, that's juice. That's the juice, So
We have some questions, hand raised. Miguena, you want to go ahead and jump in for your question?
Yes. Hi, ladies and Andrew. So
Hi.
good to you. Oh my God. I'm so excited for you to be with all these amazing women who are asking the best questions. Andrew, you know how much I brag about your podcast studio, being a guest there, and the houses you've built. I've seen them all. I've hugged your beautiful wife, and I am always curious to know, was there a moment in your life when you felt the universe or God was asking you to let go of what you thought you had to be so you could become who you truly were meant to be? When was that moment for you? Because you sound extremely spiritual. It's an assumption, of course, but based on how I see you flow in this business world, personal world, I'm very curious to know, when was that moment for you?
To me, it's every day. For example, with my wife, I look for new and different things to love about her every single day. And every day I find it. I find something this morning, she's like, you want a cream soda? It was so random. And I'm like, yep. Do I want a cream soda? I didn't even know we had cream soda. I want a cream soda. I didn't even know I wanted one. And, it was just so cute the way she said it. And then I said yes, and she jumped up and she ran away. I'm like, what? How did I get so lucky? And then, or she'll find she found a pair of heels that were really amazing. She, that she loves and they're comfortable. And she's like, and then I'm like, oh, and every day is there's something that she's an amazing woman. And I'm paying attention. And she's she blows me away every day. But I'm actively looking to find something about her that's just amazing, and then she'll push me. She had me buy Christian Louis Vuitton shoes, these fucking $2,500 shoes. I don't need it. I'm wearing an $11.99 shirt. I don't, so I got on stage. I'm in Atlanta. She had me buy these shoes for my talk over there at the Pivot Conference. And I'm like, I got it $11.99, but don't let me fool you. I got my Christian Louis Vuitton red bottom shoes. I got red bottom. It's crazy. So
that's a smart woman. She's trying to keep you in style over there.
Yeah, I think I'll show you the shoes. So this is my studio, by the way. So that's a studio. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. What are those cars? Yeah. Oh my gosh, what are those cars for the audience that's not on chat? Or tell us about those cars, Andrew.
So that's a Le Mans prototype Radical. They're a couple $100,000. I raced millionaires in that. It's sealed because you can't outspend the next guy, which is really cool. And then, so we've got, let's see, then we've got in here.
I love that we're getting behind the scenes. Look, I'm
this
like
is so awesome.
The theater. And then,
And ladies, by the way, shoes off. By the way, when I was at the house, shoes off. The camera guy followed me everywhere. And one of the best takeaways, Andrew, since you're walking us around, I have the hard copy book, and of course you signed it. And I loved how honorable you were towards your creation. And you said, yes, the only way I'm giving books, you have to pay. Because if you don't pay, you won't pay attention, you won't read it, and it's symbolic. And I won't tell you how much it is. It could be 99 cents, it could be a penny, it doesn't matter, but the message behind it, I share it everywhere I go. And I learned so much from that one experience within the bigger experience, being on your podcast, Andrew. I love it. And thank you for being that mentor, even when you don't know you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. My wife, actually, that's from my wife. She's like, because I just give away the book, right? She goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I want people to get the information. And she said, if they don't pay for it, and what I looked and people were not actually reading it. And I went, wow, I spent 26 years of research into the book and 5 years of editing, and they're not even opening it. Like there's a whole universe for them to discover about themselves, and they're just not even interested. And then, when you just tell, when people pay, and I genuinely, I want to pay for things that have value in my life. I appreciate somebody else's effort, right, to actually do something. And I think that was one of the key takeaways, because for me, it was even hard. Like, how do I charge for a book? I don't need the money. It's pretty obvious, and yeah, it just felt awkward. Somebody buying a book. And now it's like, now I won't give them away. It's like, and I don't need the money. It's just the idea of it. And she's 100% right in so many ways. She's always right.
So we have another hand raised. Corrine Mills, are you there? You want to ask a question to Andrew?
I was going to show you the red bottom shoes, but yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I
want to say before Corrine gets up here, I just wanted to tell you, Andrew, how much I love the credit that you're giving your wife. And I've met her, and she is extraordinarily beautiful. I've not had the privilege to talk with her as much as I would like, and I'm listening, going, "Wow, this is one amazing lady." And I love how you're really giving her a lot of the credit. That's so awesome.
I know. We need to bring him back for relationship advice.
Dude, Corrine, go ahead.
You know what's funny? And this is something that triggered when I was a kid. My first girlfriend, I was complaining to my dad, and my dad just looked at me. He just looked at me, and I'm like, and I'm complaining, and he just looked at me, and I'm like, this is such a weird, uncomfortable, silent moment. And he goes, I said, what? And he goes, do you realize how stupid you look? You think you're complaining about her. Do you realize how dumb you look? You're with her. You chose her. And you're complaining? That was a choice. And I was like, okay, yeah. Like, if you're complaining about who, that static, that negative energy is just going to create more energy, as far as that. And you pull away, the more you create this barrier between the people you love, literally you have to process that to even get back in love again, compared to just loving somebody. You got all these rules. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do the before I love you. No, that's rules.
I know. I leave so many hands up. Credit gets the hands. Stop me after this one. I mean, I would love for you to do like life coach. I mean, this is great stuff, you guys. Just
So
listen to
good.
the podcast. I feel like I've gotten life advice that's going to carry me
So
through
good.
I mean, it's a business power hour, but Andrew, you touched on some of the biggest aspects of people's life that really affect their business. And I love it. I just feel like we could go on forever, but credit, stop me. Who do we have?
Yeah, we have
audience?
Corrine Mills. Are you still here, Corrine? You want to jump in with your hot
Can
question?
you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
go for it.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies. Thanks for having this room or podcast that you guys always do. Hey, Andrew, good to meet you.
Good to meet you, Breen.
Yeah. Hey, it's been really enjoyable to listen to all of your wisdom. I'm a loan broker by day, so I was wondering if you guys do partnership agreements.
Of course, yeah.
Great.
And we can even get you into the back of our system so that you could just write your own deals. So we have a whole back end. As long as you got your M&LS number and you're good, then we'll get you into the back part. You can structure the deals, pick your own yields, pick your own stuff.
Cool.
And, yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yeah.
Business deals happening right here on Rainmakers Power Hour. You gotta love it, guys. Okay, and I am going to say, hey, Nelson's not here, but do you not love this app, Andrew? I mean, this
It's
app is
amazing.
awesome.
I'm like, this is amazing. Where does this exist anywhere else like
It's
this?
No, it's coming out of beta. Obviously, we're still in beta, but it's coming out here in the next few days to open to the public.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Chatter. But are there any hands up? Credit, I can't see them from my controls. Are there any? Can anybody? Credit's frozen, I think.
I can't see any hands up, Wendy. I do not see
Okay.
any hands up. If I am missing you, can you just come off of mute and fire your question away? Because we really only have a few seconds left.
Yes, we're winding it down. I feel like some of the credit has there she is. She had a little bit of
Sorry, I was checking on X because we are streaming live over there. We have hundreds of people that come through X. And I want to say thank you for all the people that are on X right now. And then the replays on YouTube. Definitely give Andrew Cartwright a follow and check out his Instagram, YouTube, and so forth. And this has been such an interesting conversation about, your journey in that business world, and also, going, your setback was your comeback, right? And
Oh,
we
yeah.
all have these stories. I lived in Vegas for 20-something years. I went through the same stuff, but different story in 2008. And we live to tell. We live to tell because at the end of the day, you can sit across from somebody and say, I've been where you're at. I lost all that money. I gained it back. And the knowledge of, like you mentioned briefly about credit. I'm sure you probably screwed up your credit like I screwed up my credit. But the neat thing is we have the skill set to build it back up bigger and better. And so I just wanted to say thank you for coming in and giving us an insight in your life and the journey that you've been through. This is just, we want you back for sure.
Yes.
And we want to thank all the chatters to come in and listen to this particular podcast. And we see you on every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Macy, did you want to add to this? And then Wendy to round it off?
No, I just thought this was, I thought coming in, we were going to talk business. And I really admired the way you've taken all of your experience and you're allowing other people now to buy into that, which is amazing, right? And excel. And then we ended up getting a whole life lesson that is really going to serve all of us very well. So I'm thrilled. This was one of my favorite. I'll tell you, tonight was one of my favorite.
Such a great podcast, Andrew. Thank you for being our guest today. I do want to say a thank you to our sponsor, Ollie Bigler, who's in the room here, Smarter Aircraft, the next generation in private aviation investments. Thank you, Ollie, for your support means a lot to us. And then, of course, William and Harry, elevate your game with luxury brand exotic golf shoes. Thanks to our sponsors. And Andrew, thank you for taking the time to come on here today. And I think that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be so appreciative of all the things you're doing. Check out his website. Tell us again your website where we can find you, Andrew, for those that are listening.
Yeah, it's andrewcartwright.com, AndrewCartwright.com. The lending is Capital Velocity, where, very hands-on approach over there, transaction room if you're trying to buy a business or real estate, and then Grant Velocity. A lot of these are just tools that I couldn't find that we just built. So to help people get across the finish line. We didn't even cover. I'm a world championship Ironman too, after 10 years.
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask
Oh my gosh.
So, are you Ironman? I've done 5 Ironmans, so I can totally relate. You're a totally driven person. Which one did you compete? Did you do Kona?
I did Kona. Yep, I did Kona. In fact, my picture here is me coming across the finish line. And if you look online, if you go Kona, Andrew Cartwright, finish, Getty's selling my images for $500 a piece. I don't get a dime of that, but there's a finish shot of me flying through the air, like 3 feet in the air. You saw it?
Yeah, I did Ironman for a living, so I can completely relate to your drive. I think it's amazing. You're just such a well-rounded person altogether.
I mean, honestly,
so much to
Ironman.
learn from you.
Cool.
Crazy cool stuff. I did a half Ironman. I thought I was going to die. So.
You always think you're going to die, even the full. You're like, it's 140 miles. You definitely feel like you're going to. I always, yeah. And what's really cool is you see Elvis and Jesus along the way.
At least twice.
At least twice.
At least twice, yeah.
Oh, and random relatives that have passed away years ago. You're like,
he's not making that up. When I competed in Ironman, well, the first part of my career, they could revive you on the course once and let you keep going. Now, medical aid, they won't let you keep going. I mean, we had it tough, didn't we, Andrew? They're like, yeah, get her back out there. She's fine.
oh yeah. Now they like Kona. They weigh us in the like if we lose too much water weight, they pull us. And this one, we had jellyfish this last October. I got bit by jellyfish. There were sharks in the water. I guess the dolphins came and kept the sharks to shore. And it rained. So we had crosswinds and rain. That's always fun to bike in.
And the lava fields are tough.
The lava fields, Hell's Kitchen, where we go in. You go into a lava field for miles. Go down and it's all black and it's hot and humid and it's like it's like hell. It's like let's just go into hell and then when you turn around,
we pay for it.
and we pay.
And how much did you pay for that? It's like several $1,000s to pay for these, isn't it? Just like a couple thousand.
Yeah, but it also took me 10 years to qualify. So if you count up all that and my bike over there that's like 20 grand. Like
what
seriously.
kind of bike?
I have a speed concept.
That's what I had too.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's got everything on it.
I love it. Yeah, I had a Kestrel. I have a Kestrel.
Oh my God, it looks just mine was black too.
Yeah,
mine. I gave up.
I love it. And then I've got a trainer bike too, a Sabella. That was my old bike that I did. But yeah, that's 3 or 4 hours of training a day. So
it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be committed for sure. I mean, it's a commitment, mind, body, and soul for those things. If you've not done one, I mean, even just you should try to do guys for those of you out there. Just do the little sprints. You feel so accomplished when you finish it, don't you?
Yeah, you feel like you're special
you can have
forces.
a life outside of it.
Yeah, you can. You don't get a life if you're doing full Ironmans because you're 3 to 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. So
it becomes your life for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Andrew. We have enjoyed having you today. We certainly appreciate it, and we may have you back on for some life coaching and relationship building, and maybe even some Ironman training, some things like that. I mean, honestly, you're so well-rounded. But thank you guys, and thanks to all our audience for coming in today, our chatter audience, and we will see you guys next Tuesday.
See you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Love ya.